All right, I want to welcome everybody to the fellowship and senior fellowship closing ceremony.
Boo. Yay, boo.
Okay.
That's the proper reaction.
All right,
It's over?
so here's the deal. This is the conclusion of the 12th year of the fellowship. You are the 12th graduating class. So I want to so first of all, I want to articulate on behalf of myself and Rabbi Wilds and Rabbi Ezra and Rabbi Shuki and Chani and everybody who's on the staff how much that we are proud of you. Why? Why are we proud of you? Because every Wednesday, or pretty much every Wednesday, you guys come after a long day of work, very long day of work, into the Schwitz, get onto the subway, Schwitz a lot more, and dedicate 3.5 hours of learning from 7 to 8. You're with your wonderful Chavrutot, which we'll talk about soon. Then you have Rabbi Wild's next level class, or if you're in the senior fellowship, we have class with myself. And then for the fellows, have an additional class. Sometimes walking out of here at the wrong side of 10:30. That has happened. Okay? So that is a significant commitment of learning, and I think I can say that the people that you walked in as a year ago, you're not the same people. Now, like everything else in life, you get what you put in. There's certain people who are super intense, and I would argue got more. Those people who took a less intense approach got something, but everybody gained from the experience. So that's point number one. So it's been basically 9-10 months. In a week, next week we'll be going off to Israel in the next fellowship class, Israel trip. I'm very excited about that. With Rabbi Shuki Klein. With Rabbi Shuki Klein.
So much rabbinical coverage.
That's it. It's a man-to-man coverage.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Really?
It's impossible to
Okay. So I
just
just, again, you guys are amazing, and I'm looking forward to spending a fantastic week in Israel for those who are coming.
Man.
You're amazing, Rabbi.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Okay, so when I'm thinking about what idea of Torah, what one short concept could I share with you tonight, I had to talk about the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Every morning, every Jew says that Talmud Torah connect kulam, which means the study of the mitzvah of learning Torah is equal to all mitzvot. If you look at the Rambam, which is quoting from the Talmud, he says as follows: Ein lecha mitzvah b'chol mitzvot kulan shekula connect Talmud Torah. There is no other mitzvah of all the mitzvot that is equal to study of Torah. El Talmud Torah connect kol mitzvot. Talmud Torah equal to them all. Why? Talmud made it Maisa, because learning brings on the doing of the mitzvot. Ufika, therefore, Talmud is the study, kodem l'maisa b'chol makom. But if you think about that, that's actually a paradox. You're saying, why is Talmud Torah so awesome? Because it leads to action. Oh, so what really? But then how are you saying that Talmud Torah is equal to everything? What are you putting on a higher pedestal? The doing and performance of mitzvah, or learning of the mitzvah? So it seems to be you're saying that Talmud Torah is great. Why? Because it leads to action. But it seems that action is superior to the learning. So what's better? Is it the performance of mitzvah, or is it the learning of Torah itself? So Rabbi Aaron Lichtenstein, Zecher Tzedek Bracha, one of the founding Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Har Zion, where Rabbi Avi Heller went, my son went, father went, a lot of people went, and he had the following solution. He said, in essence, the most exalted mitzvah is learning Torah. But if you do not do activity, if you do not follow through on what you learn, it shows that your learning is still fundamentally what? Academic. I go to a university, I take academic Judaism, very interesting, very insightful, very compelling, but it doesn't do anything. What is the kind of quality of Talmud Torah? It's a Talmud Torah which transforms a person through action. In simple terms, when a person learns about a mitzvah, I think every single person here, that's really the goal of the fellowship, is that you can do an action of a mitzvah, shaking a lulav, blowing a shofar, living in a sukkah, etc., in a very mechanical action. But if you spend the time, which all of you did, to learn about the mitzvah, it becomes a different action. It's a different mitzvah. And you, in turn, become a different person. So the mitzvah, Talmud Torah is the highest, most superior mitzvah. It is the engine that transformed every other mitzvah. Compare in your mind an action that you do in an unthinking, unknowing, robotic manner. You take the lulav and you shake it all about, okay? Okay, it's a little weird. I'm grabbing four species and I'm waving in random directions. I have no idea why I'm doing that, okay? But if you sit down with your chavrusa, with your tutor, with your rabbis, with your educators at MJE, it could be a different mitzvah. And I think basically that's what we try to accomplish with the fellowship and the senior fellowship this year, is to really get in at a deeper level the mitzvah that you've experienced before and provide it into a much more meaningful and deep perspective, or at least the road toward that. And I encourage everybody that if there's any takeaway that everybody got in the learning, is that the more you know, the more you realize there's so much more to know. And since the mitzvah, we just said that the mitzvah of learning Torah is the ideal, is that I want really, the measure of success is that every person, whether you're in the fellowship, or you're in the senior fellowship, or you're in the second year of the senior fellowship, or you're in the third year of the senior fellowship, you say, you know something? What am I doing next year? What am I doing next year? How am I going to take it to the next level? Am I going to do the senior fellowship? Am I going to do the senior fellowship another year with a different curriculum? Am I going to double down on my chavrusa? Am I going to take advantage of the new MG program, which is a chabura program, which Shana will talk about, and Shana and Scott will talk about later, which they did this year, of learning additional learning because the offerings were not enough. We had to go to the next level. That's something to think about. So I just want to end with a series of hakarat tov, of thank yous. Number one, my thank you goes to Rabbi Mark Wiles. Because in number one, if there was no Rabbi Mark Wiles, there would be no MJE. We would not be here. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to take you back to 2007. Rabbi Chazan, Rabbi Arnie Singer had an idea called, we have all these introductory classes, and some people go to Israel, but a lot of people who sort of have done all the introductory classes, and they're not going to Israel. What are we doing for them? So we had an idea of a fellowship. I said that night, it's a wonderful idea. I came and I got the donors to actually pay for a fellowship, and we started 12 years ago, September 2007. And then we culminated with a Tanakh tour where Chani was spending her honeymoon, and she joined the fellowship, first fellowship Israel trip. It was awesome. We had Rabbi Riskin actually doing the Q&A. Yeah, it was off the hook. It was good. So number one, Rabbi Wiles, who had faith in me to lead this, and we've had wonderful success. I also want to give a card to, she's not here right now, but Ruthie Brofman. Ruthie Brofman. This year, this was the first year that I was not working full-time at MJE, and she took on the responsibility and to really lead the fellowship, and she spent a lot of hours ensuring that it'd be the best possible program. So, and not to mention all the learning and the guidance she provided the whole community. So she's just, she's not here, but I want to express a Hakar Tov to Ruthie. I also want to express a Hakar Tov to Chani. Okay, when you walk in here on Wednesday, and if you are a lady, who are you going to learn with? Chani will take care of you. As she has taken care of literally, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of women for the last 18 of the 20 years. Got to be 18. So Chani's been with MG since the very, very beginning, nearly the very beginning, and she has had tremendous mesirus nefesh to ensure that the women of MG are well served, and she reaches out to the community and gets the very best and brightest, which many of you women have learned with, and that shit is because of one person, Chani Perlman. So, and not to mention the Shabbatonim and Lawrence and Tinek, and she has done so much. So just a big shout out to Chani. We go to the other side of the Mechitza. Rabbi Joshua D. Klein. AKA Rabbi Shuki. Rabbi Shuki, in addition to the 75 other things he does at MJE, He's also in charge of the men chavrusa, making the chavrusa happen. And not to mention, together with his partner, Connie over here, ensuring that the Wednesday night experience can be meaningful. Ensuring that we have delicious food, and just as sometimes, occasionally delicious food. Next year, we're amping up the food part. Anyway, but the bottom line is, Shuki's here, Friday Night Lights, Shabbos Day, and then mentorship, teaching, just phenomenal. And we have a tremendous debt of a car stove, because the fellowship and MG in general would not be what it is without Rabbi Joshua D. Klein. We go on. Another celebration tonight is to show Hakar Satov to all the tutors, specifically the tutors who extended themselves for the fellows and senior fellows. We have people who have been learning with the same senior fellow for many years, and they get not $1 of compensation. They come as an act of chesed on their part to share the education they have received from their school, their rebbeim, their families, and come just to ensure that you have a rich experience. So we owe a profound debt of gratitude to each and every one of them. I also want to say that there's a general rule: you cannot make the scene if you don't got the green. So I want to articulate some of the major donors that funded the fellowship, and I'm talking about Daniel Stone, who was here last week, who, by the way, I spoke to him today. He met with a number of the fellows, and also just the general vibe of the learning on Wednesday night. Was very, very happy, very inspired. So that's fantastic. Jonah and Basia LaBelle, Louis and Lori Barbanel, and many, many others who have given to ensure that that everybody here gets a chance. Everybody in the fellowship and senior fellowship, 99% of you do not have a day's education. This is your organized education. These people believe in you. They think you're great. They know that you are future Jewish leaders, and they know that what they invest in you these years will find many dividends as you go out to Jewish communities worldwide. And how do I know that? Because I have currently over 150, 160 alumni literally all over the world. And I'm in contact with nearly all of them, and they have children, second children, third children, fourth, and they've gotten themselves involved, each in their own way, to their community. And it was because of the staff at MJE and all the donors that invested in them. So we have a deep car stove to them. So tonight, as we always do in the ceremony, I like to get a student perspective to share their thoughts. So I call upon Mr. Jesse Frankel. Get on the show, baby. Pick it up.
How you guys doing? So I thought I'd lead with a quote I really appreciate. It goes like this. Hi, my name is Avi Steinberg. I'm 36 years old and I'm a kindergarten teacher. So I'm single. So no one really doesn't like that joke, my girlfriend. So that is the opening line of my Chavruta Avi Steinberg stand-up routine. It's amazing. I love it. And it was probably funnier when he was still single, but still it works. And the reason I love it is because it's funny. I mean, it's funny. And Avi is hilarious. I've seen the whole thing, and I suggest everyone try to find it. But it really does encompass so much of him in such like a simple, goofy joke. Like, he is very funny. I love the self-deprecating humor because I do it also. And he's a teacher, which is awesome. My mom was a preschool teacher, and he's a kindergarten teacher, which works even better for me because I have ADHD. So really, it's just like, it's there. Because we come in every week, and it's like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we'll have weeks like that, and then we'll have weeks where I text message him 20 minutes before, and I'm like, I want to do this instead. He's like, okay, let's figure that out. And thanks to his ability to kind of pivot, like I'm sure he does with all of his kids, I can at least follow Saturday services much better. I know Moda Ani, I have memorized it, which is awesome. It's short, it's not that impressive. It's more fun for me that I have it memorized to the tune of You Are My Sunshine, because like I said, my teacher's a kindergarten teacher. No, but it's not that. I only have so long, please. But like, my teacher's a kindergarten teacher. That's the way I'm going to learn it. And I'm okay with that because I probably wouldn't have figured it out in other ways. But yeah, Avi is the perfect chavruta for me. I knew I wanted someone who could help me with the tunes, and he has helped me with that a lot. I can lead Havdalah, which is awesome. I never thought I'd be able to do that one. I can use him to ask the rabbi questions off of. Because if Avi knows the answer quickly, it's not hard enough, and it's probably common knowledge. So you gotta ask him one, or you have to ask him one where Avi's
It's true.
huh, okay, I don't know, I haven't heard that one yet. I'm like, that's a good one. Remember that one. Ask Shuki that one later. It'll be good. We'll stump him. It's nice. Like I said, Avi really has made the semester program much better for me, and you may be sitting there thinking to yourself like, oh, he's lucky he got a really good chavruta. This one was not an accident. Many of you probably know that last year Avi had a different chavruta who is still doing fellowship as a senior fellow, and that was Scott. And Scott made the terrible, terrible mistake last year of introducing Avi to me as like the first non-rabbi I met at MJE, which I've spoken about MJ before. I've spoken about my experiences here. Avi was the first time I realized that like Orthodox wasn't like one thing and that there was an entire spectrum of it. Scott's mistake for introducing him to me, because then when I was considering fellowship, I legitimately went up to Scott and Avi separately and was like, I'm thinking about it, but I'm taking Avi if I do fellowship. Thankfully, Scott was okay with that eventually and gave him up. Just so anyone knows, if anyone knows anyone joining fellowship or doing senior fellowship next year, I'm not giving him back. So, you have a new chavruta, stick with him. If I do it again, he's not being let go. So, I wanted somebody who I was friends, and I know some people meet their chavruta for the first time ever, and that might work for some people. It doesn't work for me. I wanted someone that I would be able to talk about Torah with, learn with, but also if I do have one of those ADHD, loop off going in circles, which happens a lot, I needed someone who could A, attempt to follow my line of thought, and B, attempt to bring me back around. So that's kind of been the best part of it. He's also my roommate on all the retreats, so he is my roommate. Came up with that one last time. I thought I was super smart. Combo 2 words together. The last thing that is awesome about Avi is I was trying to think about like when the program's over, I'm gonna get Avi a gift. Like, what do you do? There's so many things. Could be something really cool. This really cool religious thing. This, that, and everything. Avi can be a complex person, but sometimes it's really simple. I know Avi's a big fan of craft beers and like whiskey and bourbon, so I kind of felt like this was just the simplest gift for him.
I call upon Avi to have a few words of retort.
Good luck.
Yeah, come on up.
Okay, I should open this first. I'm gonna.
Couple words.
I did not know I was speaking, but that never stopped me before. Kindergarten.
I told him I could show you this episode.
Welcome, everyone. The one thing I'll say is that the rabbi mentioned before the chesed that the chavrusas do when we come in, because we've had a day school education. The chesed, we come in and it's so nice of us, and it was really nice of you to say, but I don't see it as all as chesed. I think that for me, and I hope, and I think that for other chavrusas as well, we get as much or more out of it as the chavrusis, as the people in the fellowship program get. We come from different directions, but to grow up with a Jewish education is really, I feel really lucky and I feel really blessed to have had that. But I didn't really feel that way until I started coming to MJE and realized how much I was really given and how much I was kind of taken for granted. And I remember while I was spoken about this also, that sometimes if you're doing it again and again, day after day, one of the hardest things is to keep it fresh. It kind of gets dry, kind of gets stale, the same thing every day. So one of the things I've gotten out of being a chavrusa was kind of the realization that this is really special, this is really important, and to be able to give back has done more for me than I think I initially would have realized, to really be reinvigorated and to kind of fall in love again with my Judaism. And Jess, there's no better chavrusa besides my other chavrusas who are in the room than Jesse.
You went to me first. You got it.
Than Jesse, who has shown me how to ask a good question and how to really care. He didn't just say, okay, I'll do the fellowship. Doesn't really I don't know. He went back and forth about it for a little while because he took it seriously. That's how kind of when I was going back and forth about being a Fusion member a few years ago. I didn't want to say yes right away. Eventually, I did say yes, and I'm really happy that I did that. But you really took it seriously. You weren't just doing it just because. I mean, you can meet a lot of people here, and there's great food, but you really took it seriously, and that was inspiring. And when I pivoted, or when I went in another direction, you were able to bring me back as well. I think it really was a good match. So I definitely got a lot out of this year. I wasn't going to ask you yet if we're learning together again next year. I'm happy to hear that you were interested, so we'll talk. This bottle was for this past year. Next year is another bottle. But we'll figure it out. I've gotten so much out of this past year. You really kind of like brought me back and really showed me how to engage in it in a new and in a unique way. So I really value it a lot, and I think it's invaluable what I've gotten out of learning with you. And in closing, I would like to say thank you to everyone in this room for the community that you've built. And hopefully you'll all be back here. The chavrusas, the people who are in the fellowship program, come back to the next program again. And even if you can't, come back and learn. I think it only happens because we're all in this room. I think it only happens if it was just two people sitting in a room, that's great. But to hear like the buzz, the voice of Torah, just the energy in the room. It's not a cafe, it's Torah going on most of the time. We're not talking about like Marvel comics. But it's just been amazing that everyone here has kind of added something. So thank you to everyone in this room, and let's keep it going the next year.
All right, we're going to keep it rock and roll over here. Okay, representing the women folk of the fellowship, I call Karen.
Hi. So this past year has been interesting. I honestly would not have thought that I would have been standing up here with what I feel like is going to Hebrew school round 2, but I chose to do it. And I definitely don't believe that this whole experience would have been worth anything without the other fellows and the challenges that they've presented, or the insight that they've presented, as well as the rabbis, who I'm very grateful for. I embarked on fellowship kind of impromptu, spontaneously. I wanted to learn about Judaism. I was more and more exposed to it than ever, but I didn't really know that fellowship existed until I was in Israel last year with MJE. And I don't know if it was the beer or just the good time or the fact that you're in Israel, but Ruthie said to me, Taryn, you're telling me about your background, and I really think you should look into this thing called fellowship that we do. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not really good at schedules. I'm not really good at commitments that are really ongoing for that long. But after a fun night out, I just kind of woke up the next day and I was like, Ruthie, I'm not going to think about it anymore. If you think it's the right place for me, I am more and more curious about Orthodox life and about learning about Judaism. And maybe it's Israel talking, but I'm in. And so I found myself in fellowship, and I didn't have any clue of what to expect. There's very little on the internet about fellowship, except for a pamphlet. But one of my favorite things was working with my Havrusa. And at first, when I started learning with her, she's not here tonight, but she's awesome. Her name's Elisheva. When we first started learning together, one of my goals was to build a kosher kitchen. And so we started learning the rules of kashrut, and after the first few weeks of learning that, I realized that that was a very heavy independent reading thing that I could come to her with questions about. So we kind of shifted gears a bit, and we went more into the mitzvot and the parshas. And that was by far my favorite thing to learn with her. I'd actually probably never really read a parsha up until that point, from start to finish, and hearing her perspective and thinking outside the box on certain things, and just how she saw things so differently. I mean, one of the examples was I spoke on the winter retreat, I believe it was Parsha Truma, and I went in and I was like, great, this is the Parsha that I got. It's so technical, what am I going to talk about? And she gave me tons of reading to do, and we met outside, and we'd have lunch together, and we kind of talked about responsibility and ownership of what you're learning or doing. And it was just so insightful that I couldn't have picked that up from the text itself without her input. Other things that I really loved about her were that I do love about her, she's not gone, It's just in Israel, but something else that I really enjoyed doing with her was anything I saw. So my work really has me heavily entrenched in Orthodox Hasidic communities, and things that I saw that I just didn't understand. It gave me a consistent person to ask and a consistent perspective to obtain, because I found that I was having halachic guidance from all over the place, and it varied from time to time. But my all-time favorite thing with my Havrusa is in January, I had the opportunity to be in Israel with my Havrusa. So we both happened to be in Israel at the same time, and it was just really special to be in this place that we've been reading about or discussing, entrenched in the middle of the epicenter of Judaism in Jerusalem. And so that was by far one of the coolest things that her and I got to do, was learn together in Israel. And so I really thank her for that, and I thank her for my whole experience. And really, I think that everyone that was in my fellowship is also like a Havrusa, because they all gave me questions that I never knew existed. Thank you, Jesse, for long-winded emails. Simone, for the progressive experience. You know, I just thought that it wouldn't have been the same without you, and I definitely would not have learned as much without you. And I hope that I get to have the opportunity to continue to learn with you guys next year.
Amen.
All right. Rounding out the fellowship, we turn to Max.
Looking spiffy.
I've never gotten to use the stander. I'm very excited. See if it can support the Torah knowledge that I put over here. I have notes on my phone, so I promise I'm not just like texting while I'm up here. My other half, or better half, my chavrusa was Danny Schulman, Ruthie's husband, and so that was a unbelievable opportunity for me over the course of the year. And I don't know if anyone's ever learned with Danny before. Like he's very specific. Like he'll let you know when he's interested or he's not interested in a topic. So the thing that interested Danny was Tractate Megillah. So one of those Golden Red Shiny books back there. And we literally over the course of the year got through one suga. So we literally maybe got through 3-4 pages over, you know, a calendar year of coming together. And I thought to share with you one of the learnings that we did together. And so the part of Megillah we touched on, like looked at a lot of like who reads what when, like how many Torah portions are read on different holidays and in relation to Megillah, and how things are different or the same on Purim. And so the one thing it asks is corresponding to what were these numbers 3, 5, and 7 readers instituted, right? So these are numbers that are getting called up to read the Torah at different days. And I forgot to do a Yiddish joke. I don't like stop. Ich will sagen noch auf Yiddish and say, should we do this in Yiddish? Fine. I killed it now, but we'll get it in anyway. Just slip it in there, right? But, guys, my Aramaic not as good as my Yiddish, so I'll just do this in English. One said, these numbers correspond to the Hebrew words of the 3 verses of the priestly Benedict, right? The Bracha Kohanim, which we see on high holidays. And one said these numbers correspond to the 3 guards of the door, the 5 officers who saw the king's face, and the 7 who saw the king's face, right? And those are all pointing to different Bible verses, right? So why do we suggest that these readers are either like people who are looking towards the God, right, towards King, or are they like Kohanim, like when the Kohanim get up and do the blessing and they're facing towards the community, right? What is a reader of the Torah? And I think typically we think of the reader of the Torah as the guard metaphor, right? Like this person's getting a really big honor. They're like going up to the Torah, right? Everyone's like, Yasher Koyach and everything. Like this guy's immense. The Gabbai goes around, he taps you on the shoulder. It's like this special thing. Like you're getting to like peep in. You got this special meeting with the king that's going on. But I think in that we often overlook the Kohanim part of this as well, right? Which is to say that it's both this idea of the guards and the Kohanim, is that because with the Kohanim get up there, right, and they put on the thing, and they do the blessing, and we all look away and everything. But the thing about the Kohanim's blessing is the Kohanim can't bless us in a way, right? Like it's not coming from themselves. They themselves are not like magicians or anything able to bless us, that they are invoking God's blessing onto the Jewish people, right? And if we think about this in terms of the Torah reading, right, the Torah can only be read because we have a minyan together, that a community has come together in honor to be able to grant this honor to somebody else. And if we also think about a Torah reading, right, as this like reenactment of the Sinai revelation, then the power here is the people who are receiving the Torah, right? The message that is being given here. So even though that we have, for example, if someone is getting this honor, right, they're going up, they're reading the Torah, the honor goes back onto the community, I think, as well, as that's the community's there that enables them to have this honor as well. And as we're up here sort of graduating today, whether from our fellowship or senior fellowship, and we're getting our Yasher Koyachs, I think it's also important that as we are in these like getting to see the face of the king moments, to remember the Kohanim part of it as well, right? As we look out onto the congregation of one another, whether other fellows or the rabbinical staff, and that these are the people that allowed us to come together and be able to permit us this great opportunity for learning and for deepening our connections to Judaism and to Hashem.
All right. We now turn to the senior fellowship. Finishing up here. So, representing the men folk will be Scott Shapiro. Scott was a fellow last year, was with us in Israel, and he said, I want to do senior fellowship. But that was not all. He said then, an opportunity to have a Rambam Chabura. He connected with my friend, Rabbi Richard Bora, and learning weekly with Rabbi Bora to learn the Mishnah Torah, Maimonides Code, together with a group learning with other Torah scholars and other MJEers who have done that. And that's cool, and that's very impressive. But that's not the most impressive thing about Scott Shapiro.
Oh, it's not.
Does anybody know where Scott Shapiro lives?
Newtown, PA.
Scott Shapiro has clearly one of the best attendance records at MJE. And both fellowship and senior fellowship. And not only that, and coming for Shabbat as well. So there's an idea that a person just who dedicates themselves to learn, but part of the fact is that goes through a 2-hour commute each way to do that needs to be mentioned, and I think we are extremely proud of you. Unbelievable. So, of course. Of course. So without further ado, a few words representing the men of the senior fellowship, Scott Shapiro, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Rabbi Pinny. That was like the coolest entrance I ever had.
Ezra.
Yeah. That's like my new ringtone, whatever. Man, I can't believe senior fellowship is over. I feel like we just started yesterday. And now it's over. I loved coming in here every Wednesday when the height of one-on-one learning where it's so loud you can't really even hear your Abusa across from you. It's just this amazing energy of people are reading Torah, they're going over a book that they're reading. It's just you can feel it. It's just it's a very cool feeling. I want to thank Chaim, I learned so much in this year from helping me learn the alphabet. I can't read Hebrew yet, but I'm on the way. I'm on the way. You really helped me understand the Shemona Esrei, the Shema. You really dug down deep on the meaning of it. So thank you so much for that. It was amazing. Now I feel I have the confidence that I can go into any shul as long as I have my transliterated Siddur. And I can daven, and I don't have, there's no pressure. I'm not scared to not go in there. When it comes to the senior fellowship, I knew like when I got back from Israel, like I was still like all jazzed up, like I was all charged up from Israel, and I wanted to continue learning. I wanted to learn more, and the conversations that I had like around the table, where it's just like it's going across the table, this, that, the other thing. It was I learned so much. It was an awesome experience. I want to thank Rabbi Pinny, aka Rabbi Klein, Lucy, Rabbi Mark Wilds. Amazing year. Thank you so much.
I'm deeply honored to call Rosenthal up to say a few words.
So this one, I was given warning. I want to sort of reiterate many of the same things some of you guys have said. It's been a wonderful year. I always appreciate the opportunity to learn in a great environment like MJE and with an amazing chavrusa like Scott. I also would say, I also feel like, similar to what Avi had said before, often, the chavrusas get more out of it than the fellows do sometimes. And not just the Starbucks gift card you gave me before to help fuel my caffeine addiction, which is a real thing. It's always nice to be learning with another person from PA. I was flattered that you asked me to learn with you this year. And it's been just a great opportunity to learn with Scott, who always has a smile. We're learning davening together, learning some of the Aleph Bet, and learning some amazing other texts. I think some of the most interesting things we've learned have been some of the English books that we've read. So we started learning some of the 19 letters of Hirsch at the beginning of the year. We went through Rabbi Wild's whole book together, which was great, a big accomplishment. We'll see him on that.
Plug there.
Exactly, little plug.
Where might I be able to get a copy?
But one of the things that really struck me, and I think we both really connected to, was we read Rabbi R.E.A. Kaplan's "If You Were God," and he has a particular essay, which is something that I really like, and Scott and I really were learning it for a couple weeks, where it sort of imagines the whole world as sort of an island with different tribes on it, and sort of thinks about if you were God and you were building a society where you wanted everyone to be just, you had a bunch of different sort of tribes on an island and competing factions, how you would influence it. And it says ultimately that, you would choose one group within that island, you would reveal yourself partially to them, and sort of give them a set of tenets and a set of beliefs that they would then build onto to influence the rest of the island. And obviously that's his conclusion, which sort of becomes obvious as you go along, is that particular group that you're revealing yourself to are the Jewish people. And I really think that sort of MJE as a whole is a really great opportunity for us to to spread a message of morality, being a mensch, learning Torah throughout the world, because we come from very different backgrounds. And I really think that is a really great message, and I think it's a great opportunity to be part of an amazing community like this. So I just want to thank MJE for that opportunity.
All right, to close out the student component of the program, we turn to Shayna to represent the women of the senior fellowship. Shayna is doing her third year fellowship. She did the fellowship. She went to Israel. Actually, I'll go back. The year before that, she was at the Heritage. She went on Heritage, and she went to a fellow home for Shabbat, Michal Cohen. Now, Michal Cohen, and she was so moved that Michal still had her notebook of her notes when she was in the the third or fourth year of the fellowship, and she had made Aliyah with her husband. And that's it, and then on that Shabbos, I spoke to her about maybe considering the possibility of the fellowship, and that turned out to work out. So she did the fellowship, fantastic, and she did this year. Then she did the senior fellowship, and this is the second year of the senior fellowship. Only Jade is actually coming with the third year of the fellowship, senior fellowship. We're not a competition here. But not only that, also Shayna has had phenomenal attendance. If I was going to give a final in the senior fellowship, Shayna has in her possession literally perfect notes. The best notes. If you would, like, remember in high school there was always that go-to person that you would beg to Xerox their notes, so you'd actually because you were not paying attention. Okay, that is Shayna. So Shayna has awesome notes, which is a measure that she really, not just in the class, but really on top of all the information. And in addition to that, but that wasn't all. She said, I want to add more learning, so I'm going to do the Ram Chabura program. I'm going to come on the Yom Yun, so we had already 2 this year. For those who want to add the extra measure of learning, together with Scott, together with Yossi and David. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Shayna Sloan. Erica Russa.
Hi, I'm Shayna.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
We started learning together
3 years ago when Sheena first began fellowship. So close.
We complete each other's sentences. In all seriousness, learning with Melissa is one of my favorite parts about Wednesday nights at MJE. Our first text together was the opening section of the Shulchan Aruch because I was inspired by a shiur Rabbi Wilds gave in Sfat on the heritage trip. Finding the right chavruta for me wasn't going to be an easy task, given what I wanted to learn and wanted to learn in Hebrew. Melissa was the perfect person for me, and I couldn't be more appreciative of her dedication to our learning. We paused the Shulchan Aruch to learn Rav Hirsch's 19 letters, jointly inspired by a siyum given by my fellow senior fellow, Anna. Upon completing the letters, we were in agreement about returning to learning in Hebrew. We began Pirkei Avot, which we are currently learning together. More than just my learning partner, Melissa is my cherished friend. We talk about dating and our families, vacations, and work. She invited me to her wedding, where she gave me the honor of holding a piece of her jewelry during the ceremony. If I need to be in Manhattan for Shabbat, she's the first to offer me a place to crash, even if she and her husband aren't home. If they are home, I have a setting at their dinner table and a seat for an afternoon shiur.
My turn. I signed up to learn at MJE because I ran into a girl I knew on my way to playing basketball on the 5th floor. I was looking for a mentor, specifically someone who was more learned than I am. I never told Shayna this, but I was initially disappointed that they paired me up as the tutor, the person with more Jewish experience. But clearly I could not be happier with my chavruta. There is no way I would still be coming here if it wasn't for Shayna's commitment. In today's times, I find it really easy to back away from weekly commitment, but I felt I owed it to Shayna to come every week. And now Wednesday nights have become holy and reserved, arguably the only extra thing I fully commit to, other than family, work, and Shabbat. So why do I keep coming? Because I love Shayna. And I love seeing her religious and personal growth over time, and I love how much I am learning. The first half of our learning time is always catching up on each other's week, and then delving into the learning. As Shayna said, we started with the Shulchan Aruch. Shayna and I realized that we both find the actual rules of Judaism inspiring, although I know this is not the case for most people. My husband constantly tells me that most people connect through stories and more spiritual anecdotes with lessons, so I feel lucky that Shayna and I both really like rules. As someone who grew up in an observant household, all the rules became mundane for me, but seeing them through Shayna's excited and eager eyes reinvigorated my interest in them. I wanted to finish with one thought. I came to MJE looking for a mentor, wanting to be the student. Initially, I was assigned as the tutor, but after 2 or 3 years at MJE, pretty sure the roles have been reversed.
Having completed 2 years of senior fellowship, my Jewish knowledge has grown tremendously. Every class is based in the Tanakh, giving me a greater recognition and deeper understanding of names and stories. I gained the ability to confidently participate in Shabbat meal conversations in my home community. I no longer feel completely lost when talk turns to the Parsha, or a shiur at my local Young Israel gives a Tanakh reference. Our classes also include Jewish history from the time the Tanakh ends through current events, rounding out my Jewish education and making me feel like a more engaged member of the Jewish community. My MJE journey began in August 2016 when I went on the Heritage trip to Israel. 1 year of fellowship and 2 years of senior fellowship later, my life has taken a turn I never imagined for myself before that fateful trip. Looking back on the past 3 years in life before MJE, I wouldn't change a thing. I wish us all the best on our respective Jewish journeys, wherever they may lead.
Amen.
First of all, I want also, in addition to all that, I want a big extra shout out to Shayna and to Scott, who also, in addition to all that, regularly join the online Tuesday night Parsha class, which I enjoy the presence, among all the many other people that come and join. So, we are concluding the program, and I call upon the COO of Manhattan Jewish Experience, a veteran of a person I'm honored to call a friend, a colleague for now 13 years already, Rabbi Ezra Cohen, also director of Downtown, who has been involved in every aspect of MJE and works literally Yom V'Layla, day in, day out. There is not 24/6, I'm going to argue 24/7. So everybody give it up for Rabbi Ezra Cohen.
All right. It is true. I've been around for a long time, and I've seen a lot at MJE. But if history is correct, I left MJE West Side the year that we started the fellowship, which was what year?
2007 to 2008.
That's when we opened up the MJE downtown location. So I actually have not been face-to-face, panim el panim, with the amazing students over the past 12 years of the fellowship. And so I sometimes ask the question, and perhaps in my donor meetings we have the discussion about the different programs, and they say, what is a fellow? A lot of answers, right? A fellow is someone who has the rabbi as Pinny Rosenthal. A fellow perhaps is someone who gets discounts at our Shabbat dinners. A fellow is someone who's our gold member. A person who's always around. That's a fellow. Maybe there's other people that aren't in that category, but these actually are people that are coming and learning on Wednesday nights. They're coming on Shabbos and participating in davening. These are people who are taking their studies more seriously. That's what a fellow is. But I still don't think that is the essence of what a fellow is. In this week's Parsha, we know of the evil prophet. What's his name, Jesse?
I have no idea, and I'm going to cede to my chavruta for that one.
Ooh, it's already Wednesday night, man.
I heard the Parsha in Israel, so.
So
who's already
so
ahead of
please
you?
answer it properly.
Bilam.
You say it.
Bilam!
Yes.
And we know as he approaches the Jewish people to curse them. What happens, guys?
Turn blessings.
Turns to the blessings, but there's an angel that stands in the path.
The Satan. It's a long train right
The
there.
donkey is confronted by a messenger of God, and the pasuk, the verse states that the donkey is stuck and it cannot move. Gader mizeh ugader mizeh. From this side to this side, he is put in a one position of permanence and cannot proceed with his curse. So the Medrash says, what's the metaphor that we're supposed to think about? That Bilam is unable to curse the Jewish people because the donkey is stuck on both sides. What is the fence on this side and the fence on this side representing? The Medrash tells us that it represents the essence of Judaism, which is reflected in the luchos, the tablets, right? That we hold up the Torah, that Moshe came down on Har Sinai. Those are the things which stand for us as Gedarim, as guidelines, as a North Star. as a way for us to understand and maximize our spirituality. That's the Torah, the luchos, the tablets. We're told that the luchos were charus. What does that mean, guys?
Engraved.
They were engraved. So perhaps you could even take it one step further. It's not just that the tablets are standing for the Jewish people as pillars in their existence, but the luchos themselves represent, the Torah represents a holistic A to Z approach to life. We know that the Torah relates to everything in the morning, to the evening, to the way we are at work, to the way we are with our family. It applies to every single aspect of our existence. Charus, it's through and through. The non-Jews, Chazal tell us, say, we'll never achieve the sanctity and holiness of the Jewish people because we didn't have a prophet. You guys had Moshe. And so this week's Parsha comes as a text, as a source, to point to the non-Jewish people and to say, you had Bilam. You had a guy that had the same high level of prophecy that Moshe had. You had the potential to reach the greatness that the Jewish people did. But if we know about Bilam, this guy was a sinner. Las Vegas was like nothing compared to what this guy represented. Even Sodom and Gomorrah, this guy was the evil Sheba evil. Super immoral, unethical dude. But still, he was somehow connected to divine prophecy, something called Nevuah. How's that possible? That someone with such great knowledge, with someone with such great talent and skill, is such a horrible, despicable human being. Because we're told there's a poignant difference between a Bilam and a Moshe. Bilam was given the gift of prophecy. It was bestowed upon him. As opposed to Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, he's someone who earned it through his actions, through his deeds, through his commitment daily on behalf of the Jewish people. He's someone who toiled and who worked. And if you do that, then you will truly appreciate the gifts and the knowledge of what God is. But if you're just giving it, just take it. It's like a guy who suddenly wins the lottery. We know, sadly, you're suddenly dropped bundles and bundles of money. You're given a big truck of $1 million. And what happens? People waste it away. People get depressed, and somehow they lose their ability to live in this world. They don't appreciate it because it was given to them as a gift. But someone who builds up their business from the ground level, works and toils day in and day out, and suddenly they see Fortune 500. All right, now they're 501. They just cracked it. They got in. They have a joy and a simcha every single day because they invested. And that's, I believe, what's represented by this side to this side, the charus, the idea of the fence and the engraving. That's, I believe, what a fellow is. It's someone who toiled and who worked day in and day out on their spirituality, on their studies, on their growth. And that's why hopefully tonight you have something called Sipuk HaNefesh, which is what? I don't even know how to define it. It's called soul satisfaction. That's what you should be feeling tonight. Perhaps, you had it when you were bar mitzvahed, or perhaps you had it at an MJE Seder downtown, or perhaps you had it on the high holidays. But a fellow, someone who says, I want to invest daily in my spirituality. I'm going to put in the effort and toil. And in New York City, it ain't easy. We got jobs. We got tons of different parties going on. The Lower East Side, meat packing. I always do that joke with Troy over there, right? But there's a lot of distractions. There's things which say, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to invest, right, in being a fellow. It's too much of a commitment. But each and every one of you said, it's worth it. And hopefully you feel tonight that sense of deep soul pleasure of having toiled. It's not just Wednesday nights. It's not just Saturday, because hopefully you've taken the messages and the teachings of those programs and of the amazing teachers into your daily lives. And you've made it a practice, which happens on a Sunday, a Monday, a Tuesday. And that's what a fellow is. A fellow is someone who is attending to their soul on a daily basis. And one of my favorite Devar Torahs that I love to share is the greatest pasuk in all of our Torah. There's an argument: is it v'ahavta l'recha kamocha? Is it about love? Is it Shema Yisrael? Is it about faith? And the rabbis all say they agree. The greatest pasuk is es hakebes echad taseh baboker. You should offer a daily sacrifice every single day of your life. That doesn't seem so grandiose. That doesn't seem so epic, fleek, whatever the word is, right? Doing something every day, that sounds kind of pedantic, boring. It sounds like a habit, a ritual, something which is not exciting. But if, the rabbis tell us, you take something, your soul, your relationship with other human beings, your relationship with God, and you make it a daily practice, an exercise of investment, you will have truly something beautiful. And so while we are graduating today, I'm going to include myself in the fellowship graduation, I want you to remember the feeling that you have tonight and to take it with you. And to remind yourself, if you're feeling a little bit lost, to come back. We got at MJ, we got classes, we got 3 years of senior fellowship going on. You can keep coming around, keep making it a daily practice. But it doesn't even have to be here. It can be at your shul. This guy Troy, this guy Dobbins, like at every single shul in Manhattan, like 5 times a day. No, with a mat. No, I'm kidding. He doesn't do that. But that's the beauty of our Judaism. That's, I believe, the greatest way that we can access happiness, the joy that Rabbi Wiles talks about in his 4th chapter of his book. $10 tonight for anybody who puts in fellow joking. But hopefully we can take with us, and it's really an inspiration for me, and I have not been zocha. I have not merited to see the daily sacrifice. I haven't. I've been down at MJE, 34th Street, 31st, 26th. I'm not showing up. Sometimes people are like, "You really work for that organization called MJE?" I go, and I show them my business card. They're, "Oh wow, the guy really works for them." Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, there's such a thing as MJE downtown." So I don't really come around the West Side so much. I live down there and don't see you guys on Shabbos and see you learning here on a Wednesday night. And the Shavuos program, thank God I came up and was able to see hundreds of people, of which you guys were here all night studying. And so I want to commend each and every one of you. You should feel tremendous tonight. As you know, being involved in the organization back end, to see tonight is a really special merit, because you can get, there's an office upstairs with a lot of, stuff that perhaps goes wrong and the CEO needs to attend to, with a broken AC and a bunch of other things, a fridge which doesn't get emptied out, and all the other craziness of office stuff. But this is what the Manhattan Jewish Experience is about. It's about each and every one of you who've invested in your soul on a daily basis, who've realized that you are not just the habit of spirituality, but you are actually the essence of spirituality and soulfulness. That is who you are. And that's the paradigm which you should walk every single day of your life. So Yasher Koach to each and every one of you. Special kudos to the founder and director of our fellowship, who has really taken it upon himself as his baby. The bar mitzvah is next year. We're going to come and celebrate with you. Pinny understood, Rabbi Rosenthal understood, that if we truly want to get the maximum potential of our luchos, of our Torah, we got to go deeper. We got to make it something which is consistent. We got to make it something which we're going to take in our lives on a constant basis. And that's why we created the fellowship, to give each and every one of you that opportunity, and you took it and you accelerated to the highest of heights. So Yasher Koach, Rabbi Pinny, thank you. all you do on behalf of the Jewish people, on behalf of the OU, on behalf of the Manhattan Jewish Experience. I want to also acknowledge the presence of my tremendous, talented colleague, Rabbi Shuki Josh Klein. Because while there's the founder and director off writing and officiating and fundraising, and now the CEO dealing with all the minutiae and the details, which is amazing. I love doing that every day. The on-the-ground kiruv and outreach guy, the educator, the teacher, the one who's having the impact on a daily basis with our community is Rabbi Josh Klein. So he literally pull out the road, Rabbi Shuki, for everything he does. And with that, we should end off with a Siman Tovu Mazel Tov. Rabbi Shuki, you want to get up?
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
I was just saying because Rabbi Shuki, Connie, don't leave. Connie, don't leave just yet. We have the Israel orientation. Connie, while I have been at MJ a long time, is our veteran educator on staff who's also been here 15 years. And Connie, while she's in Teaneck, New Jersey, her heart and soul is with MJE. And we want to thank her and offer tremendous hakaras hatov and appreciation for all that you do on behalf of our community. Let's give a big round of applause. And now we can continue Siman Tov Mazel Tov.